Hello, my name's TechDave, and today we're looking once again at I believe, the 9th video I've now made about this device, my delightful Lenovo ThinkPad T430. Let's see if I can get it undone with one hand. There it is, in all its glory. Yeah, and basically the gist is the same as my X230 video about this topic. Can I successfully do everything I need to do with my computational needs, with the exception of using my phone? Can I do everything I need to do with the T430 as my only device for 1 week in 2022? So let us find out the answer to that question. So, to start off with, we're going to talk briefly about the specifications of just the basic device. So, let's just dive in. The first notable thing is the CPU. So it's got an i7-3840QM at 2.9 to 3.4 gigahertz. It'll be written here, as I'm sure you can see now. In the main drive bay, I've got a 240 gig SSD with Windows 10 Pro. In the drive bay underneath, aka the wireless WAN port, which is underneath the RAM cover, so one of the RAM slots is here, the other one is the 128 gig mSata SSD, which I will swap out later on as well with a Ericsson H5321GW mobile broadband card, which is up to 21 megabits per second, so it's either that or the mSata SSD. The ultrabay currently has a 500 gig hard drive, although as you'll see in a minute I could swap that out with another ultrabay caddy for a 60 gig SSD, which I have multiple. So we're going to try out a few different operating systems on this just to satisfy my curiosity. And I've also got a DVD drive, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Currently in its docked form it has the 6-cell, or I believe the 3-cell or the 6-cell battery, which has got about an hour of battery life, and the RAM is 2133 megahertz 2x8 gigs DDR3. Now, the 128 gig mSata SSD has an Arch distro on it, which is this guy Bogdan helped me with this on a live stream using it. I'll post the live stream up there. And probably there'll be a playlist, so I'll put the playlist here as well. This is, I believe, my 9th video. Let me just double check that. I've got a playlist of
Hi, I'm
there we go. T430 videos, and this will be number 9. Yeah, it's the Lenovo ThinkPad T430 upgrade saga, as you'll be able to see now in the cards. So it shows you how I got this device to its current state, and yeah, just like using it with an eGPU and stuff like that. So that actually ties in nicely to this next section. So what I'm going to do, move the actual base device to one side, and show you all the ingredients, which you shouldn't be able to see here if I've done this correctly. All the ingredients required to make this a viable desktop replacement, because at the moment I have my P51 Lenovo Legion Boost Station eGPU, monitors, mixer, sound card, a whole bunch of stuff that I need to be able to do to get through an entire week, including video editing, video gaming, and a ton of other stuff. But to allow that to be possible, we've got multiple additional ingredients. The first one being my Radeon XFX RX 480, 8GB. Second is the aforementioned SSD, which I have multiple of, but that's just one for sort of a dummy, one for now that I'm going to put multiple operating systems on. We've got the aforementioned DVD drive, for any optical media, old games, anything like that. It is interesting to note that you can run Windows XP on the T430. It's one of the last ThinkPads that actually natively has driver support for that. I'm not going to be doing that in this video, but if you want to see that, leave a note in the comments. In which case the DVD drive will come into play for my vast collection of DVD and CD based games over there. Then the next thing we've got is the EXP Beast dock. We've got all the relevant power cables that allow me to use it with an external GPU. It's quite possible that I could also replace the Wi-Fi card. I have attempted that before, but it destroyed loads of my hardware. So I'm a bit unsure as to whether to use that, but it apparently is technically possible to use the the Wi-Fi card slot instead of the express card, and then you get 2 PCI lanes instead of just one, which you do currently get with at least this version of version 8.4 of the EXP Beast stock. And then multiple power things. So starting with, we've got a 9-cell battery, which is 11.1 volt, 8.4 amp, 94 watt hour T430 9-cell battery. It's quite expensive, I think about 50 or 60 quid. It's 70 plus rated, lithium ion. I've had up to 8 hours battery life in Windows with battery saver, although that varies wildly because of the quad core, but we can limit the CPU to ensure we get much more of that, which is actually perfectly fine for just browsing, but we'll discuss that more later. And then up to 10 hours in Linux, like GNU/Linux if you want to be really particular, which is fine. And then we've got the 135 watt charger, which is required for the CPU to actually charge the battery, because of the CPU to actually charge the battery while the device is on. So yeah, that was a little Dane, I think Dane Archer introduced me to that concept, which was really lucky because I bought the CPU without knowing that, and then he clued me in, so that was quite handy. Then we've got the ThinkPad Mini Dock Series 3 with USB 3, so we've got 6 USBs, one of which is USB 3, VGA, which is perfect for that monitor, DisplayPort, which is perfect for my middle monitor, although that'll probably be hooked up to the eGPU depending on what we're doing, DVI. I believe all 3 of these ports can't be used in conjunction, so you can either have those two, or those two, because unless you've got an eGPU, of course, but then the eGPU won't feed the internal graphics. So basically the Intel HD 4000 graphics, which is all that T430 has, so I didn't get the discrete GPU option. It can only support 2 monitors at a time, basically. But yeah, I've got the USB 3, which I traditionally use for a external hard drive to run my games and my video footage. That was quite loud. And then the last 2 components that we need is some power supply, non-modular power supply. It's a Silverstone 500 watt 80 plus bronze power supply. Absolutely fine if you're just running a GPU off it, which I am. More than enough oomph. And then Project Morpheus, which has, it's basically a Lenovo ThinkPad, I can't remember what it is. I'll put it in the text here. But we hollowed it out, took out the motherboard because it was dead anyway, put in a hole for the power supply vent, 8 holes for my graphics card. It's got a little bracket just in there, which I'll show you as well, why not? Bracket in there to support the graphics card. And then it works around the graphics card, blah 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 blah. This is basically a hollowed out PC case that I use as an eGPU caddy, or a dock, for my graphics solution. So yeah, that was quite verbose, quite intense, quite a long thing. But these are basically all the parts that are going to enable me to use my T430 for everything I need to do this week. Fingers crossed. And then I've got some other cheeky solutions like GeForce Now and various other things for on the go, and tethering my phone via USB. But we'll probably just leave that there for now. This is all the hardware. So what I've got to do next, we should either see a montage of or a sudden grand reveal, is integrate all of this into this desk setup. So I'm going to have to do a lot of work to make that work. I'll probably do a time lapse or a sped up footage for that. So yeah, that's basically it. Well, before we move on, please like, subscribe, share, hit the bell icon, all that sort of stuff. I've been told that I need to do it earlier in the video rather than just at the end. Don't like doing that, but to be honest, if you're getting value out of the content, it would mean a lot to me if you could do any of those things and possibly share it with anyone that might find this interesting. And yeah, the next thing will be the kind of building of the setup, and then from there we're going to do day by day different activities on each day. So hopefully this is interesting, hopefully this will be exciting, hopefully you'll take some value from it. Let's find out. Right, just to show you my basic setup, so obviously there's chaos aplenty down here, but like if I come down to this position here, you can see that's my basic setup. Sorry about the lens flare on the lights. But what we've got the full setup now. So we've got the T430 docked in the Ultra dock, or whatever the hell it's called. We've got the eGPU running down there to the RX 480. We've got on the go battery. We've got our second SSD. We've got DVD drive there. Blah 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 blah. We've got all my cables plugged in. We've got this monitor is hooked in directly to the Intel HD graphics on the motherboard, as is the TV. But we've got a KVM down here, and as you can see, it's on. There we go. It's on number 2, which is coming from the eGPU. So I can press this button here, which you probably can't make out, but I can, to switch back and forth between built-in graphics and the eGPU. This mixer also here, it connects via express card and FireWire. So if I want to do any music production later in the week, then, or just listen to some sick music through my quad speaker setup. And then we've got the M-Box for just talkback and general speech, blah, 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 when I'm gaming. One little tip, if you are doing this with the express card eGPU setup, I may be able to show you now. So I've got a video playing. I've opened Task Manager. Now, if we look at GPU utilization at now, so you can see we're about 25%, 18, it hovers around that. If I drag this video playing over to the second monitor, which should in theory be on the Intel HD graphics, but actually if you look at the GPU utilization ramping up, it's actually feeding back to the external monitors by the looks of it. Because if I drag this back now and open Task Manager again, you can see that the GPU utilization drops massively. Any insight as to how to make it not do that would be great, because I don't think it used to do that when I've used it before. But my solution to that is simply to turn off this monitor and just do everything just on the single monitor. This is actually a really good channel, Chill Village. I'm not going to play any music. Yeah, anyway, blah blah blah. So you can see that the GPU utilization hovers around the 20%, oh, even lower now because I'm not playing any video. But yeah, basically anything that's plugged into the dock or directly into the T430 will ramp up GPU utilization up to sometimes 100% if it's on 1080p. So avoid using that. So yeah, that's basically the gist. I just wanted to show you the setup I've got and that little insight. I also got this delivered today. I don't know if you can make that out. Let's take it out of the packet so it doesn't mess with my focus. It is the Ericsson, wrong side, there we go. Ericsson H5321GW wireless WAN adapter, which is up to 21 megabits per second. So we're going to stick a SIM card and that in the other slot later on in the week. So I just want to show you I've got that. Also, I could probably show you around my desk setup, because just for why not. That's normally where my P51 goes. That's normally where my Lenovo Legion boost station goes. And then down here, normally attached to the KVM, we have my X230 with the keyboard and mouse thing and the display coming from there. So that's where I keep my X230. So I've got Linux Mint on there and Windows 10, but generally I just use it just on this top screen. And then I've got my X200, which we'll be doing a video about sooner or later. I'm just waiting for the ultrabay 2 dock so I can get digital video out, so I can film another video that was requested by someone on the YouTube channel. So that's just a little teaser there, but that's where I keep them. And my Mac Bluetooth keyboard, which yes does work with Windows and Linux, which is quite cool. And this little cheap Bluetooth mouse, which is actually quite nice. So yeah, what we're going to do, we're going to switch over to capture now. As you can see, I've got it written there. I'm going to capture, I know it's cheating, but I don't have any other way of capturing it decently. Especially using the Radeon Relive thing, it'll just be really unstable and use loads of CPU and GPU. And considering I've only got one PCI lane with the express card, probably wise to use capture card. So I'll be recording on my P51 up there, but the gaming is taking place on here, so I'm going to blah 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 set that all up. And the plan is to play some not too heavy duty games. We've got World of Tanks, World of Warcraft, Black Mesa, Command and Conquer Remastered, Enlisted, and Euro Truck Simulator. Enlisted will be interesting because that is a beta game that's not very well optimized. I'll be very intrigued to see how it runs on this and be very interested to know. But yeah, that's just a little brief preface, I guess you would call it, the preface to day one, which would be gaming. So let us dive right on in. Hello there, future TechDave here. The section you're about to watch, look, so I rendered them all in AVI files for higher resolution, which I'll reference in the next section that you're about to watch. So the video quality was extremely good. I used DaVinci Resolve 3, so the video quality you're about to see is not representative of the quality of the performance of the T430 or my ability to capture it, because I had to render it out through Handbrake. I had to reformat it, and the quality has been massively deprecated. There's nothing I can do about it. I spent hours on it trying to sort a way to do it without buying DaVinci Resolve Studio because I can't afford it. So just sort of to give you a heads up of that information. As you can see in the top left corner, we've got Fraps running. I'm just going into a random battle solo in World of Tanks. I've got it on ultra settings, but I've only got the standard definition client installed, so that should give you some gauge of how well this system performs. Because I use this laptop as well to play World of Tanks without the eGPU, so I've currently got the eGPU plugged in, and then we're screen capturing over there by my capture card on my P51, because it was the only way to get like a good quality image. There's a slight delay in what you're seeing from what I'm seeing. I'm just going to play till I die, and you can see in the top left you've got Fraps running, turning the frames per second. There's actually a frames per second counter in this anyway, but I think it's looking pretty nice. I'm just going to go on a death run. No intention of playing the game properly. There's one spotted, two spotted. Right, let's make my way over there. You can't see me, I can't see you. So yeah, getting about a solid 45 frames per second on ultra. He's getting messed up. We've got the Zeppelin up there in the sky. Two spotted, three spotted. Right, so that's my daily. Oops, a daisy. I had to go out in a blaze of glory. There we go. So that was just a quick round of that. Didn't actually get a kill there, which is annoying. But oh well. So yeah, basically there you go. In a nutshell, you've seen the performance of this. I mean, we could dramatically change the settings, because you can see I've got standard definition textures. I assume you can see that, yeah. But this is just using the standard definition. It's not maximum quality, so that allows me to run it on ultra. I'm getting 45 frames per second. I'm pretty happy with that performance. So yeah, let's move on to the next game, which I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but that was World of Tanks. Righty ho then. So when I booted this game, so as you can see, we've got up there in the top that way. We're in World of Warcraft now. I'll just show you my settings. So the reason I'm referencing this is because I used this game with the X230, and it seemed to be a very good example. If we turn off VSync as well, and you can see they're all my settings. So these are all on high, etc. It's locked at 60 in the menu, but we'll see how we do in game. You can see Fraps up in the top left corner. So there was some GPU detection issue. Also, you may notice in theory that the actual video around me is higher quality. Now that's not because World of Tanks looked much better than it did in that footage I just filmed, but I'm using lossless in OBS to capture this, so this should be some visual quality improvements for you. in this next section, because I'm just using lossless in OBS, but we'll see how we get on. So give it some time to load. So yeah, just off camera, I was having issues with there was error detection on the GPU, so it sort of glitched out a little bit a few times. I've no idea where I am or what's going on, what I was doing. I think I'm in this huge thing here. And you see we're getting pretty unpleasantly low frame rate, but maybe if I'm in quite a large area. So what can we do to get this to work? Alright, I don't want to die while I'm doing this. So let's see, system. So we've got 6, so we could probably notch that down to 5, that might help. Let's see what we get. But yeah, I expected better from this game on here. Now UI scaling is standard. We're only in the 20s really. I mean visually it looks, oh no, actually dropping that down helped a little bit with loading all that in as well. Like to look at, just for playing, it doesn't seem that bad. Let's just beat the crap out of these guys. Let's see what we got. Whammy. Whammy. Let's just kill them all. All of them. There's a guy behind me, I don't want to die. World of Warcraft, here we go. Smashing some war, some worlds, some more, some Warcraft. Just attack them, you dummy. Alright, there we go. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. I'm in the wrong position to actually see accurately what's going on. I'm going to die at this rate. Flamethrower. That'll sort them out. Yeah, you better run. There we go. So yeah, I don't know if I assume you were watching. Oh, why can't I take that? Inventory is full. Right, okay. So the frame rate wildly varying in this, but to look at, like it doesn't look like it's as low a frame rate as it's saying it is. Now the other option here is to go to system and then drop the scaling down to say like 80%, 1600 by 900, and see if that improves the frame rate. I mean it's an older title, but it's still getting updates, so I mean it wildly varies, I think. But yeah, I'd say despite how it looks, frame rate wise, it looks fine, it's playable, I have no issue with it. So that's World of Warcraft, just to show you an example of how it performs. Okay, so for our third game, we are looking at Black Mesa, which is, I believe, a community mod, originally a community mod that then have been validated by and sold by Valve. So I've just locked and put vertical sync on, although maybe we should have that off. Actually, that makes more sense, doesn't it? Like, right, it'll boot back in a second. There we go. But I've just done overall quality medium just to give myself a fighting chance, because I want it to run smoothly, and then we're just going to start the game. I might sort of speed up or remove some footage depending how long this takes, but I just kind of want to see how it runs. Like I've been meaning to play Black Mesa for a long time, and yeah, because I love the original Half-Life and Half-Life 2. Just so much. In fact, actually, you won't be able to hear anything. I can't hear anything because I've got the TV muted. This looks gorgeous. We're looking like a solid 30 frames per second, basically. Looks as good on OBS as it does here, so hopefully this will give you an accurate representation. And now we've gone inside the building a little bit. We're getting like up to the 50s and 60s. You see fraps in the top. For you, it's up there, top left. So we're just going to kind of just wait this out. Looks great. There's no way to skip this bit, so maybe I'll just sort of fade out here. Here we go. So Forget how long that cutscene is. I've muted the audio, obviously. You won't hear it, I can't hear it. Now we've got a nice loading screen. But yeah, that jumped around up into the 90s at times during that cutscene. We're just waiting for the screen to load. And so I've got, like, so here is the time. It's probably poignant to point out, or relevant to point out, sorry, that with this GPU CPU combo, they're really well balanced. They should, if it was built into a desktop, there would be no bottlenecking. There'd be a really balanced system. But obviously we only got one PCI lane. The maximum you could have, if I use the Wi-Fi card slot, would be dual band. But I forget what I'm supposed to do here. E to talk with personnel. Blah blah blah. E to talk with personnel. He's saying something. Can't remember what. There we go. Right. This is a good looking game. We're in the 70s indoors. What are you saying? I've got to do something. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played this. You let me through, buddy? There we go. We're into the hundreds now. And then, yeah. Oh yeah, look at that frame rate rise when we're into such a small environment. Glad I turned VSync off. But this is on medium, so in theory, considering this is a lot of the game, we can potentially now try video up to high, apply changes, and see if it's stable. I don't know whether you can hear it on the microphone, but the GPU is it's taking over nicely. Oh, the game crashed. Did the game crash? Yeah, game crashed, putting it on high. Okay, well I think that's that conclusion. It runs absolutely fine on medium. I'm not going to spend any more time on that game, as I've just sat and watched that cutscene, but we're getting up to hundreds of frames per second in the main game. I think the instability with the GPU might be a factor, but we'll soon find out. But yeah, that in theory, Black Mesa running in from anything from 40 to 116 frames per second shouldn't have messed with the graphic settings. I learned a valuable lesson. Let's move on to the next game. So while this is this is Command & Conquer Remastered. I don't know whether you can see it. It's pretty small, but in the top left, 12 frames per second on this menu screen. I might be able to enhance that in a bit, make it a bit more visible. In fact, I probably will do that. But the point I wanted to say at this stage is just that this game kept crashing and crashing and crashing. I disabled fraps, and lo and behold, all the GPU crashes stopped immediately. So I think I probably could have pushed this hardware a bit more. And I believe that it was fraps that was crashing it, basically. Crashing my GPU, because it kept cutting to a little GPU error detection error caused by fraps. So I'm going to let this run, and then I'll be back with this game once it's all set up. Right. So as you can see in the top left, sorry, my mistake. Let's just see what settings it's given us. Where's the options? You can see that I've zoomed in the frame rate. I've duplicated blah blah blah. No one really cares about how I did it, but I made the frame rate bigger. That all seems to be groovy. Turn off VSync. General. They're the only real graphic settings we have, so let's just see how we get on when we go into the game. So this is Command and so yeah, we're up into like just ridiculous frame rates in the menu screen. Allies. Oh, this game is so funny. But yeah, let me get through the cutscenes first, and then I'll be back. So we're in game. I need to upgrade my tactical space to high definition. Oh, look at that. Glorious. Now what do we do? Select troops. Attack these guys, I guess. I'm play this game. So you can see the frame rate again here. Let's get these troops and attack these bad boys. Shoot them all. As you can see, I suck at this game.
blah, blah. We get 120 frames per second, I believe. There's a 1080p earlier in the game, it said. It was 4K scale resolution, so who knows? Shoot these guys. Destroy everything. Everything! They'll all be destroyed. Just destroy these guys, Come on, guys. Shoot them. Shoot that guy. They're all dead. So yeah, this fully playable. My mind even to be fair, but yeah, Command & Conquer Remastered seems to work absolutely perfectly. Separate, but over 100 frames per second, I'm not entirely surprised by that. So yeah, this fully playable. I don't know why I'm even showing it, to be fair, but yeah, Command & Conquer Remastered seems to work absolutely perfectly at over 100 frames per second, but I'm not entirely surprised by that. So, game 5, I believe. I'm just waiting for it to patch because there's a massive update to this game. And listed, it's in beta. It's a really solid game, really fun. I highly recommend it. And as you can see up here, I've just realised after how long have I owned this card? 6 years. I've had this card, maybe 7. There's an overlay built into it that shows you all the metrics for your game and your performance of your computer, including CPU, GPU, RAM usage, as you can see, all that up there. How I didn't realise that was a thing that was already built in, because anyway, yeah, blah 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 blah. So when the game's finished patching, we'll be back with that. That's just a little comedy moment for you when I finally realised, oh, my graphics card metrics itself easily with very little system mess ups. I might even go back, and actually I probably will go back and just play a little bit after you see Unlisted, play a little bit of World of Warcraft just to demonstrate, because my X230 ran World of Warcraft fine with like graphics setting 5, so that might explain why things were going wrong with fraps and stuff. So I'll be back once the game is patched. Please. So here we are in Enlisted, and these are the graphic settings that we have. We've got resolution is auto, but it's basically 1080p. Full screen windowed. As you can see, we've got all the performance metrics just up here on the right. No FPS limit, no VSync on, obviously. So we've got lots of lows and mediums. So I'm going to dive into a game, get my rewards, my eternal rewards. So we want to switch over to the one I'm doing the best at, which is Stalingrad. As you can see, I've unlocked quite a bit. Level 18, level 16, level 14. Only level 3 with my tanks. I rarely ever use them. But yeah, as you can see, I've got headphones on because you need to have no join any team. I'll be allies. I'm just going to let it run, and you can see the frame rate in the very top right of the performance metrics, so 43 at the moment, for example. And we'll see how we get on. Probably not going to talk too much throughout this, might even speed it up. Right, and just as a final addendum, we're going to dive back into World of Warcraft, which was buggy as heck and only 20 frames per second, but I reckon part of that was from fraps causing the GPU detection errors. So it's loading much quicker than it did last time. And I just want to see, if you look in the top right corner of the screen, if we are a more stable frame rate in the same area. It will load into identically where we were before. Tom. Waiting. Always wait. I'll be back. Immediately into battle. Right, let's destroy these guys. absolutely just decimate them. Let me get to a decent angle so you can see properly. I'm not monitoring the frame rate, but you should. Punch, 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 punch. Attack, kill, death, 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 kill. Why is it not death killing? Death kill. I'm gonna die. Why am I gonna die? This isn't right. Where's my health booster thing? Oh, I'm gonna die. I will. Die. Kill the guy. Shoot him. Death to him. Thank God. Right. As you can see, we're getting a solid 42 frames per second, up from previously as little as 20. So Fraps really was killing my frame rate in this game. Take your silver. Won't let me take the silver. Okay. So yeah, just for reference, yeah, we over doubled the frame rate on a higher setting than we were running it before. So if you wanted 60, I would imagine this would be the solution. Turn to game, and it's getting up to the 50s now. As you can see, 90. There we go. Right. So yeah, Fraps was killing my frame rate just egregiously, and this game performs much better now. So yeah, I just thought I'd quickly show you that. And that's it for day one, pretty much. That is the end of the benchmarks. I made a few little tactical errors, not realizing facepalm that bloody my GPU contains a metric overlay that I could have been using for several years in the past. So at least I figured it out now, so that's great. Please ignore any information here, don't dox me, blah, 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 blah. Right. So next on the agenda, we shall have recording and live streaming with OBS directly on the device, and also using GeForce Now to run the games and then stream using just the GPU. So I'll be back with that. So a little interjection. So what have we done before we move on to day two? I'm just that's irrelevant. I'm just backing up files, but I've got OBS now running on this monitor, which is connected to the GPU as well now. And this is connected to the GPU. So I've got both monitors connected to the GPU. Horrible lens flare. Now, what the basic intention here is, I'll show you more when I'm on back on screen capture. I'm running games on GeForce Now, allowing me to potentially get a full 30 frames per second 1080p feed, crisp and looking really nice, via OBS, and then afterwards I'm going to do a comparison of just if I was attempting to do that natively on the device. So that was just a little addendum, but we're going to dive into the Cycle Frontier, played on GeForce Now, recorded in really as high a quality as I can push it, on the GPU using OBS. So we'll be back with that. Whee! So this is day two. I'm having to use the auto configuration wizard, and what I need to do is go over here. I've set this just to standard settings. I'm going to launch 7 Ways to Die, leave that running, and then I'm going to set up streaming and recording via OBS's wizard next. I'm just going to test all the bandwidth settings and everything. But this is looking like what I thought should be quite a relatively straightforward process to get some relatively decent quality footage while GeForce Now streams the game. And in fact, that is proving to be very difficult. I'm also using the latest version of OBS, so I might have to try and downgrade it, because I think that might be what's killing my performance, because until I upgraded it, I was getting slightly better performance. But honestly, I don't know what the issue is. So I'll be back captured on the device, hopefully, if it works. Right, so we are recording, we're locked. Hopefully this is actually watchable. The game you're seeing around me is being streamed via GeForce Now. It's 7 Ways to Die. I used the auto configuration wizard to set for streaming, optimize for streaming, and so recording will be secondary. Then we're just recording. We're at 1080 sorry, we're at 720p, so you'll obviously have noticed a massive depreciation in quality there. If you're savvy to it, it should be quite noticeable, I should imagine. But it's yeah, this has been infuriating. I don't know how much footage I kept in or not, but we're just going to wait for this to initialise while I sort of complain, and then in fact I'll probably come back once the world is initialised so I can check the footage in the intro. Be right back. Right, so this is the score at the moment. We're in game. Just punching a car, because why not? So this is about as good as I can expect this to work out. Right click, there, whatever. It's all nonsense. Yeah, this didn't work out quite as well as I hoped. I should imagine it'd be even worse while streaming, so day 2 is a bit of a washout. Let's burn this house down. Probably can't. Didn't even bother to put it on creative mode, to be honest. Big hole in the ground there. Stuff's just, floor's just falling through. This place sucks. But yeah, I'm a bit grumpy. And don't know what is causing everything to fall through other than me just walking around. But yeah, it turns out this computer, despite having past successes with it, is entirely unviable for any kind of recording or streaming of games natively. But what I could do, in theory, is play games on it, because it runs the games fine and dandy, especially with GeForce Now, but that's not relevant. It runs the games fair well enough. No, with screen catcher. So it looks like I've got to go because my family's got home, but that's, yeah, day 2 failed, so see you in day 3. Hello, TechDave. This is day 3. I was going to show you some music production, jamming, blah blah blah, all that, just music stuff, but the studio isn't really set up for that sort of thing at the moment, so I decided for day 3, instead I would look at my Arch install, some of the stuff I've got installed on Arch really. So I'll move over to screen capture on the P51 and just talk you through this a little bit there. So I'll dive, well, you'll see me on there briefly, momentarily. So we're on Arch on the T430. Runs beautifully. As you can see, I've been listening to some Pendulum. I've been watching Cyberpunk. Mute. With subtitles on while I do various things. I've been reviewing this to see if there's any bits I can. But yeah, that was what I was going to say. This particular video will be linked in the cards. Probably. It was when I installed Arch, and as you can see, there's the specs and the variation and everything there from NeoFetch. We've got Windows 3's GIMP just for lols. I haven't made anything with it currently, but I could attach a tablet. I do have a pen and touch tablet. I've also got 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene available there. I was watching this video of me just playing around with candles, of all things. It was actually quite fun, just manipulating the air around them. And when I get trippy, that's what I like to do, you know, when I'm being a surreal guy that I am. I've got Hacknet open as well, which is actually a sick game. And then I've got weather status isn't working for some reason. That's Meteor QT, but it's not showing me my data. It just keeps doing this. I don't really know why. And then I've got ComKey just to show all the system resources. So CPU frequency, for example, is 3.7. We're using 6 gigs out of 16 for RAM. We've got 3% CPU usage. As you can see up there at the top, it's saying 96 degrees. Now, feels pretty warm, but I don't think that's actually accurate. But it could be. Could be. And yeah, I use Arch primarily because it's got i3 gaps, as you can see from the gaps in the windows. I use it because it's low system resource, and I quite just enjoy using it just for browsing and admin and productivity. Because yeah, today I was going to do music, but I actually just, if you won't be able to see it, but just behind me I got a bunch of XLRs, which are mic cables, and I got this as well. This, yes, meaning I can use my proper, really nice condenser mic for future stuff, for streaming or for recording audio. At the moment, I'm just using a USB mic, which is just off camera here. I just want to sort of show. Just to show that, yeah, I use Arch, by the way. Do you know what I mean? Like, 'cause I didn't know what else really to do to replace the music stuff. Maybe we'll do that later in the week. I don't know. But for now, I'm going to listen to Pendulum and think of if there's anything more of value that I can add for day 3. Otherwise, this is pretty much all you're getting for day 3. I played around, watched stuff. I'm probably going to watch more Cyberpunk as well because it's just a great series. Edge Runners. I'm on episode 10. No spoilers though. No spoilers. No spoilers. Hopefully this is no spoilers. Actually, let's just switch that off there so you don't get any spoilers. But yeah, unless I think of anything more to say, that has been day 3, which is just basic admin and productivity. What I might do is undock the device, but I chose to do it this way specifically so that you could see a nice quality image rather than me just filming the screen of my T430. So we'll see how we go. Please. So for day 4, we're going to integrate these components into the T430. So that means we won't have our Arch installed, but what we will have is Windows 10, SIM card, which is Vodafone. We'll have a wireless WAN adapter and a 9-cell battery. So I'm switch to a slightly different angle and show you a little bit of installation, and then we'll move on to me messing around on the go using the T430 as just a laptop on it instead of a standalone device. So the first port of call, changing the battery, is quite simple. This is not, that's quite simple as well. So first things first, we'll take the battery out, cover that up just in case, and then the SIM card slot, I believe, looks like there's already a SIM in there actually. Oh, I remember this. Hold on. It's a tricky one, this. You have to like grab it with a blade. There we go. It's interesting it's already got a SIM in there. I don't remember that. Oh, it's just got a blank empty SIM. Right, okay. We know which way it goes in now at least. So you slide it in there. And there's your mSata. Then you need to unscrew, using our screwdriver, this bottom thingy jobber. Don't know how good a visuals this is for you. Hope you're not seeing my receding hair too much. And then we've got this SD pops out. Come back to that later. Then we put in this. Looks like the screw's missing, which is unsurprising with me. That's the sort of thing that happens. And then we've got these little fiddly wires. I don't know how well you can see this. That pop onto the two. These are the antenna basically. They wide all the way through the device, and they're actually in the back of the display. The back of the display housing. Come on, there we go. Shows you how fiddly it is at least, so you know what to expect. And then you just screw this back on. Switch to the 9-cell battery. And the surgery is complete. So I want to make sure this is fully charged because I'm not going out for a while. Then we're going to go, hopefully, all being well, find somewhere dry because it is raining today. So probably a coffee shop. I'll get a little bit of footage and then probably just narrate over the top. Yeah, there's the transformation complete. So we should now have SIM card, 9-cell battery and a fully working wireless antenna, mobile broadband antenna. So that's that job done. So I'll be back on the go. Just a quick additional addendum thing. Lenovo still stock the drivers for the mobile broadband adapter. Actually, that's the firmware. What we want is driver, mobile broadband driver. There we go. Because I've already updated the firmware in another machine. So yeah, you just want to download and install firmware and drivers. I actually bought this brand new, so I'm going to do the firmware as well, but I'm not going to make you watch that. I'm just letting you know that I have to install firmware and drivers for this so that it actually works. Because I have used wireless WAN before in this machine, I think on the same install, and it picked it up as not recognized. It knew what it was, but I think the firmware update does actually need to be done. I think the drivers definitely need to be reinstalled, so I'm going to do that and then we'll continue with the video. Just to show you where you're at, I've got 1 hour and a half before I can go out, which is perfect timing for me because I need to charge the battery so it's full capacity. But we have Vodafone, which is what I was expecting. Oh, I didn't have to install the new firmware, then it actually failed to do that. But we do have fully working Vodafone with full bars, so I might even do some testing here to see what. In fact, I will do some testing here, but I'll be back with that in just a second. So as you can see, with 4 bars of that HPSA Plus, so I think that is the fastest system. You can see we've got no other inactive connections. We got a measly, you're ready for it, with a 73 ping, 5.6 downloads, 2.4 upload on Ookla speed tests. So that isn't great. I know this card can do up to 21 megabits per second, so I'm going to faff around with some settings and see if that makes any difference. But yeah, disappointing results thus far. Further on the go prep, so you go down to the battery icon there, go power options, and then you come up here and you can see I've got 50% limited CPU battery saver, and that plan includes over here maximum processor state 50%, cooling policy passive, and everything else is just a standard power saving. So you create power plan, and then you click where you create power plan, click power saver, name it, and then you edit, change plan settings, change advanced power settings, and then you go down to processor state. There, I'm looking at this through the phone, so that's why it's confusing. So 50%. So that means that now, when I unplug from the battery, from the power source, and just on battery, the CPU, oh there, it's already done it. Yeah, CPU is limited to a very low clock speed of its maximum 2.8 up to 3.4. Now that means that, so even when, basically means it uses less power. So you remember I had an hour and a half left. I don't know whether that footage is in there, but I had an hour and a half to charge. Now it's only 42 minutes to charge. So it's just using a lot less juice, basically. And you don't really need that for browsing. I don't think I even need that to use GeForce Now. So basically, yeah, we've slightly hobbled the CPU intentionally when it's on battery, so that we can just massively extend the battery life, basically. Because all I'm going to do on it is browse and play some GeForce Now. So that's all the prep work done for going out. And so I'll see you in wherever I end up going to do this testing. So see you then. Right, I'm off out for my swim. We've got the T430. This bag, built for 15.6 inch laptops. I bought it specifically for that. Well, this nice lady bought it for me for Christmas. Ding. So if we just do a little footprint reference, you can see, sorry, the bad camera there. You can see, the difference in size. I believe it's 14 or 14.1 inch laptop, but yeah, as you can see, this bag is fairly large. Doing this with one hand is quite difficult.
Ugh. Difficulties arising. Right, there we go. So, fairly large but fairly average size rucksack, and it fits in nicely. The weight isn't that bad, even with the 9-cell battery. I'll put on the screen here what the actual weight and dimensions of it are. But I just thought I'd mention that quick before I go out, that it fits in most bags despite its quite intense size. So, next time you see me will probably be in some sort of cafe. Say bye, Jenza.
Bye.
Bye. Peace. So here we are. Hi, you can see me in the extremely glossy display I put in this device. Having a coffee. It's out in a lovely park. But what I wanted to show you primarily was this. Look. We've got 3 bars on HPSA Plus, and we're able to stream Netflix. Looking quite good. Can't really see because of all the reflection. But yeah, Netflix is absolutely fine. And then if we go to YouTube, which is a little slow. Hi. Let's see. So YouTube, and then stats for nerds. Don't know if you can make that out. 1080p 60, we're getting a few drop frames. It's slightly downscaled. That's at 1080p, but 60 frames per second. So you can see that that's fine. And then if I go up to 4K now, this might take a second because we've only got 3 bars. Let's see. Sorry, 4 out of 5 bars. It doesn't appear to be able to. Oh no, spoke too soon. Just watching random videos that came up. So if you look at stats for nerds here, you can see there's a lot of drop frames. But to watch, it's very juddery. There we go, and it's loading whatever. So what I actually do when I'm out and about is I put it down to 480p to save my data. It still looks just as good, and it's not really an issue. Right, that's a pause because it gives some people space to walk past without hearing me talk about my bloody laptop. With 97%, we're getting 3 hours 11 minutes, and even on battery saver, that's actually still. There we go. It's bumped right up to 5 hours 14, and you can see, although the brightness doesn't look great, it's still very usable. And you can see that the processor state is limited to 1.18 gigahertz. It's only 6% utilized. And then a quick easy game to get into would be Command and Conquer. So I'm just testing GeForce Now. We're just going to try it at 1080p, but it just said there recommends 720p at 30 frames per second, so if this doesn't work at all, I'll try that while I enjoy my delicious is it salted caramel latte. Ooh, finger in shot. Give it access. So I just want to see what a stuttery mess this is going to be. Agree to your nonsense.
Baby, come on.
It's all good. Little doggy there. We're just getting a frozen cursor. Looks like it's loading.
a spotty connection notification, which you can't quite make out. That's what's happening. Just start a new game. Allies. Now this is obviously just a strategy game, so it's not entirely dependent on speed or it's not like an FPS, but I wouldn't recommend playing FPS on GeForce Now on 4G anyway. That would be entirely redundant. But if you scroll around a bit, seems perfectly playable. Seems to be working. So that's over 4G, and then if we exit the game, exit, I'll be back. Right, and we're back. You can see I'm actually on balance for the data rate, and that is 1600 by 900 at 30 frames per second, so entirely viable. So for day 4, we've got admin and productivity. So basically all I'm going to show you is just how nice the keyboard is, really. So this is my file, and then who do you think he saw us? The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, etc. Spelled quick wrong, that's irrelevant. But I'm just showing you it's a nice keyboard. It's extremely easy to navigate. So it's also got a Think light, which is absolutely delightful. Lights up the keyboard from multiple angles, and it's quite handy for seeing what you're doing in general. Trackpad, it's all right. Like, it's not great. I don't really like this trackpad. But you've got up to 2 finger gestures, so you can, in theory, there we go, pinchers to kind of do a weird motion to make it work. And you can scroll with 2 fingers. Obviously, you've got the delightful, amazing track point, which works gloriously. And I've never got any complaints about the track point. I love it. Full function row keys, and in fact, actually, this is a good opportunity to show you around the ports as well. So let's just put the dock to one side for a minute. So if you look on this camera here, we've got the left hand side. No, okay, we'll switch to a different angle, then I'll show you the ports. How does that sound? So for a ports overview on the device, so on the left hand side we've got CPU vent, VGA, combination headphone, microphone jack, mini display port, 2 USB 3. Then on the back we've got the rest of the CPU fan, 20 volt barrel jack, Ethernet, and 1 USB 2 always on. And then another USB 2 here on the other side. We've got the express card, SD card, let's see if you can see that, SD card, wireless kill switch, and then the ultrabay, which can feature everything except that I don't think there's a battery for the ultrabay, but you can put a hard drive in it. And then around the front we've just got our unlocking mechanism. We obviously don't have a number pad here, as you can see. Got a big keyboard, but you can put the old keyboards on these as well, but it requires modifying stuff, so I haven't bothered doing it, especially considering that on my X230 when I tried to do it, the track point buttons didn't work. As you can see, I've also got here some delightful stickers. My HyperX for my RAM, I've got the Lenovo Enhanced Experience, I've got Core i7, Windows 10 Pro, AMD Radeon graphics, because I intend, once I get a new graphics card for my eGPU for my main device, the RX 480 will permanently be with Sexy inside, which is cheesy and lame. Then we've got a little dude there from Princess Mononoke. That's supposed to say TechDave or something powerful. And there's No Face, a little Ghibli sticker. Then on top, we've got Death Note, more Ghibli stuff. All around here, we've got Ableton logo, Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan, Cowboy Bebop, and that dude from Attack on Titan as well. And then sort of on the docking station as well, it's probably worth showing you this as well. So which one was it again? I think I said at the start of the video, it's the Mini Dock Series 3 with USB 3.0. So we've got barrel jack, DisplayPort, DVI, VGA, USB ports, Ethernet, separated headphone and microphone jack. We've got the locking mechanism, the disconnect mechanism. This means, I think I talked about this earlier actually, I don't know if I'm covering it. But yeah, you put it like that for the X230 for example, and then up like that for the T430. I think that's correct. Let's just check that, because I've got my X230 down here. I think actually, so the further down position is actually for, I think I'm mistaken. I think the further down position, yeah. So the X230 locks in at the same position. The T430S, so I used to have a T430S, look at that. So you can have one docking station setup, have both devices and just dock them to the same desktop setup. And because it's got express card, you can use the eGPU. I've also got in here randomly a smart card reader, which has various uses. Express card, smart card reader. I was playing with that the other day. But yeah, for the T430S, you have to have it like that because the docking connector is a bit of a different position, which I should think this is why that is there. But yeah, that's just a port overview, some basic keyboard productivity. The other thing I wanted to cover in this was the screen quality. Now you'll have seen in a previous video that, I'll take this off camera and put in my password. That I upgraded this screen myself. Now it's got a glossy finish which stands out I think quite well on camera. I think you can see the gloss if I put, yeah, there we go, like, but it's not actually that bad in person. We're indoors with non-natural artificial light basically, and then if we put up to maximum brightness, that's the maximum brightness, so it goes pretty low, but you get some nice blacks, nice colour response on it, but it's slightly darker than my T430S screen. I know that much, so I remember that. What else can I show you while I'm here? That's pretty much it. It's got dedicated volume and mic mute, and you've got volume buttons. And this button can be programmed. Apparently you can do it in Windows, but I haven't ever found a use for it. But you can assign it how to do that, because I haven't bothered. You can assign it to trigger a certain program, so you can have your browser come up there. It's also possible to do that in Linux, so you can set that to be, I don't know, Windows D for Linux, which would, like in Arch for example, with gaps, or i3, any i3 distro, that would bring up the program menu, so then you can just have that and then type what you wanted or something. There's loads of stuff you can do with that. But yeah, that's just sort of a general device overview, and some admin productivity stuff, talking about the screen and the keyboard and the quality of it, because I didn't know what to do for today. This is day 5, I believe. Yeah, day 5. I kind of showed you some productivity stuff in Arch already, so I thought I'd show you just how the device looks and appears and works under Windows, and just the keyboard, and like the 7-row thing is not there, blah 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 blah. Right, cool. See you on the next day, which would be day 6. So now, what we're going to do is, for day, I said day 4 before, but it was actually day 5, all that screen stuff. I apologise about the video quality in the previous section. I didn't realise that it would be that bad, and I didn't have time at the time to refilm it, so you'll have to live with the quality it was, and it's done. But what I'm doing now is I'm going to actually install PopOS on this thing. So that will be day
6 in general, which will just be looking at PopOS, seeing how it performs. I'm probably going to set the dock up on my big TV and watch the media. So to achieve this, I have to remove my 240 gig Sandisk, and then I'm going to switch out from the hard drive in ultrabay with this SSD, which I'm going to install PopOS on, because I wanted to see how it performs. Hopefully this will be interesting to you. So now we've got no boot drive, and you can, as far as I'm aware, you can boot off there. I'm just going to screw this back in. Yeah, hopefully that goes well and simple, so I don't waste time. Because I don't have my Arch install on here at the moment, because I took the mSata SSD out of under there, which you'll remember from earlier in the video. So I'm just going to do a standalone install, and then that means that once I put these back in, or put that back in, it means that I can just swap out the ultrabay drive and then have PopOS wherever I want, and I can boot with F12. Then you press enter and then press F12 at the boot menu to select which drive to boot from, and then you just boot manually. And that means, like, in theory, I could have Arch there, Windows there, and PopOS there, which I'll show you after I've installed this. That'd be pretty cool. So I'm going to move over to my big ass TV there, and probably film from there directly on the screen, because my capture card is not, it's giving me issues, and I've got this setup that I need to keep set up for the next section of the video, but I'll tell you more about that in a bit. Right, so we've got the T430 prepped and ready, hardware wise. I've got Sandisk 32 gig USB just there waiting ready to be flashed. I've got Rufus downloaded, and despite having gigabit speeds, I think it's a server thing at the end of PopOS I'm getting. I've got PopOS 22.04 long-term support without the proprietary NVIDIA drivers, because I don't use any NVIDIA products. I'm just reviewing the footage that you just saw. So in the aforementioned 15-16 minutes required to download PopOS, I'm going to be listening to this channel, which I absolutely love. What are they called? They're called Aesthetic Lo-Fi, and I have them on all the time. Also, yeah, while I'm showing stuff, so I've got this set back up for the next section of the video. So I've got my P51 and eGPU, and woo, bless me, that was crazy. Yeah, so I've got that set up because in theory, I was going to attempt to video edit on the eGPU, but then I looked back through one of my old videos. It's extremely tedious because you've only got one PCIe lane at like 5 gigabit speeds. I think that's correct. Or 5, I can't remember exactly, but I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, basically you've only got one PCI lane for video editing, and it's just not practical. So I'm going to ask you to do a little game of imagination. If you've seen my X230 video, it should be up here in the cards. You'll know that I did use Shadow, which is a cloud gaming service. I installed DaVinci Resolve, uploaded all my files via OneDrive to the virtual machine / the Shadow machine, and then use my X230 to edit. So I'm going to ask you to imagine that that's what I'm doing. But instead, what I'm actually going to do is use my P51 via Parsec. So I'm not going to show you that might show you my account name, but I'm going to use Parsec to represent that process of using Shadow, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to edit the video at all on the machine. And I thought it might make sense to show that, and we'll probably over there. Oh, you see, I don't know whether you can make that out clearly. Well, obviously you can. I've got my docking station set up on my big TV.
I've got the Lenovo mouse, wireless mouse and keyboard, and I'm gonna just basically edit from there as though I'm using Shadow, but I'm actually using Parsec. I think I made explain that pretty well. All these beautiful cards and lovely things that my partner's made, and some prayers. And all that. I'm a secret hippie. But yeah, I'll be back once PopOS is installed, or once I've got it ready to install, basically, at least. So we'll see how we get on with that. But then we're going to be looking at how PopOS functions on the T430, what kind of battery life, just kind of the performance you get from it in general. And then day 7 tomorrow will be video editing once I've got all the footage, except for the conclusion and outro, which I'll have to film after I've done the video editing. But blah 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 blah. You get the idea. That's kind of where we're at. Oh look, let's just try roasted peanuts. Right then, so we've got, I think 42-inch TV. We've got USB drive with PopOS on it, ready to be booted from, and the USB 3 port. We've got a wireless mouse and keyboard, Lenovo branded. This is a very nice mouse and keyboard. It's very similar to the T430's keyboard. And we're just going to fire her up and see. In theory, I should have to press F12, but I think there's nothing on the SSD, but we'll soon find that out. There we go, yeah, so it's booted immediately to the USB. As you can see, it's doing things. Let's watch it do things for a bit, I suppose. And in fact, actually, I've got enough space, so what I'll do is I'll move the camera and my tripod to a different angle, and then once we got the OS installed, I'll probably then move on to just showing you how it functions and a bit of performance stats. That probably did the job really. But yeah, I'm just going to install PopOS basically, and then we'll be back. There we go, so that's the basic. There we go, the installer. I'm going to go through all this, and then I'll be back with a slightly better camera angle, show you how PopOS performs. 2 thumbs fresh. Now the first thing I'm going to do is go to Firefox, and I'm going to basically find out how to, yes, make it my default browser of course. I've heard bad things about Firefox, not now. In recent times we want the dark mode, thank you. Right, how to install Parsec on PopOS. So that's the main thing we need. Let's just shimmy you across there. I shall reject all of your requests. So we need the snap store, so that's easily done. Install, where's the instructions? Windows, enter. Oh, what is it again? Windows D? No, just, it's just sudo. Terminal. And then do. Doesn't work. So this. Right, let's pop that there and this here. It should be relatively simple. I don't know how well you can see this. Sudo update password. So yeah, I do have Parsec working on Arch, but not very well. It doesn't work well. I think it's I don't know whether it's a driver issue. I have no idea really what I'm doing with Arch, but yeah, the video drivers don't seem to be fluid and successful in Parsec. So you can connect, but it's kind of glitchy and doesn't perform very well. Whereas I know on Mint when I've done it before, so when the next day sudo snap install Parsec -- classic. Hope this is the right thing. See how we get on. You just double check that it's actually the right software I'm installing. It is the wrong software. I know it's, oh right, okay. You might have clocked that further earlier than I did. So Parsec, I think it is the Snap Store though.
It's Parsec D we actually want. We don't want to download, we want to do it from, well, maybe because it's a desktop. Let's install. So I missed a trick there because I'm used to installing it on i3 or GAPS or something, but I suppose we just let it install that. That doesn't really matter. No idea what I just installed really. Applications, Parsec. So I'm not going to show you my email address, so I'm going to pause once I'm logged and then show you when I'm back logged. So this, as you can see from the Parsec icon here, is actually connected directly to my laptop. Now, there's only software encoding available, it would seem, which is, I've had that before on Linux, and that's partly the issue. You can't use the hardware to do it. I've set a band limit of 50 megabit per second because I'm wired. So from here, what I need to do basically is take this footage that you've got here and that you're watching, and all of this footage up to there, make sure it's on the hard drive, make sure it's on the machine correctly, and as you can see, because I used AVI files, I don't know whether you can read that, don't know how to zoom in this, there we go. But yeah, as you can see, I've already got 82.3 gigabytes of footage to trawl through, which what we'll be doing in the next section of the video. So let me pause just briefly. So let me pinch, it's not working, hold on, I'll be back. Excuse me, where was I? So yeah, PopOS works delightfully. I have no need to test it any further really, other than maybe a little bit of customization, like that would be nice. Oh, look at that on this big screen as well. We've got dark mode, dock, we've got nicely all set up. So yeah, I do like PopOS. I have used it briefly on my X200 mainly, because it's quite nice. Let's see, if we open with the terminal, no, so just Windows terminal, and then we just want to see if we've got NeoFetch already. Right, sudo apt install NeoFetch. Yes, I accept. Clear. Can't even see what I'm doing, so I'm looking through the camera instead of just using my eyes. As you can see, that's kind of the gist. It's only so yeah, it's using 2.1 gigabytes of RAM. I've got one program open, which is Parsec, and an additional terminal, which we've got whatever that Parsec is installed as well now. Let's just look, see what that is. Parsec, and it's not even here. There's nothing even here. Don't even know what I installed. I do not even know what I installed. But yeah, we've got a fully working version of PopOS. It seems to work quite well. Don't know how to make it not be full screen anymore. Exit, I guess, would do the job. I can't remember off the top of my head, so it'd be resource monitor, utilities, system monitor, and then resources. That's the one. I don't know my way around PopOS very well. I do like it. It's a sweet little system. As you can see, it uses a lot more. I don't know whether you can see that, but just here, uses, as you would imagine, a full desktop environment running a more complex operating system, or not more complex, but a more resource heavy operating system. It's using 15% of the RAM, just basically sat there more or less at idle. So how do I close that? So I switch to Parsec, close it. I don't think that'll have killed it. I know it did. And that was only 200 megabytes being used there. I mean, you can see that clearly. I probably will if you're watching it on a TV rather than your phone. But yeah, I mean, we're only using, I don't know, doesn't seem to be that heavy duty. I only used 8.1 gig of my 60 gig SSD. Seems to run smoothly. There's a lot of shit going on. I don't really understand, etc. But yeah, my next job now, anyway, is to open Parsec back up. And I'm not going to make you sit through it, because I'm not going to do it today. But I'll decide between now and when I film the next day what to show you. So that's day 6, installing PopOS, showing that it works perfectly. It's a bit resource heavy, but it's a full desktop environment. And then the next section of the video will be video editing, and then we'll finally get to the outro and the conclusion. But I shall see you in the next section. So, day 7, sat on the couch, chilling out, ready to tackle the job of the now 85 gigabytes of footage that I need to trawl through. To be honest, most of that mass is the AVI files, so that the games look good. So it's not too bad, but I'm going to go through it section by section and do some video editing via Parsec on the T430 using my P51 as a proxy version or a dummy version of what would be the Shadow service. Shadow is a great service. I wouldn't really recommend doing the quality. I mean, like, the quality varies in my videos, obviously, but at 4K 30 frames per second, the T430 is, even with the eGPU, I don't feel like it's cut out for the job. It's purely PCI lanes and bandwidth. You only got 5 gigabit per second, which is, it's just not enough. Like, is the word throughput? It's not enough. You're not getting enough data through for it to be a fluid or smooth experience, and it's just pointless trying to do it. I mean, if you're doing 1080p 30 frames per second, maybe, but I've filmed everything in 4K. I don't want to spend days like generating optimized media out of 80 gigabytes of footage, basically. It's just, so for my needs, the T430, this is the one thing that it's like, sorry, that is not, it's not doable. However, as you'll see in the X230 video, I think that should be there or there. With Shadow, you kind of ameliorate that with a good internet connection, and actually do that pretty much anywhere with the 4G connection, which isn't great. Or like so the phone I'm recording on now, you can tether your 5G to your T430 with the Shadow account, and you pretty much can just work anywhere for your video editing needs. So that there is a viable workaround. I could theoretically use this, but I'm not willing to spend 30 quid just to prove that point, because that's how much Shadow costs a month. I did in the X230 video, but I'm not in a position to do that at the moment. Also, I want to say at this stage of it, if you've stuck around this long, legend. You obviously have deep interest in the performance and interest, like the T430, so thank you for that. Maybe subscribe, like, share, tick the bell icon, all that sort of stuff. If you're stuck, I mean, at least, you know, possibly subscribe, because if you're that interested in what I had to do, I mean, this is number 9, I think, yeah, number 9 of my T430 videos, and it probably won't be the last, but I deeply need to branch out into other machines. I need to just invest and start doing some stuff. One of the things, probably the next and last T430 thing I'll be bothered to do will be transplanting everything that's in the T430 behind the camera, which you'll see in a minute, into one with the NVS
1000M Quadro discrete graphics, because it's just it would be so sweet just to, even though it's 1 gig GDDR3, just to have that little, like for example, to be able to use the dock without the eGPU for multiple displays. That would be so sweet, and that would compensate massively for the difficulties I've had. Might even be able to do some basic 1080p video editing as well. So yeah, I just thought I'd just give this speech this little bit of an addendum, rather than making you sit through the entire video editing process. And then I'll come back and talk more about how it went. So we're going to listen to a little bit of aesthetic lo-fi. I'm not going to do that now. I'm not going to play that now because I don't want to infringe their copyright. Then we're going to switch. No, we're going to switch back to the main display. As you can see, we've got DaVinci open here. So my plan is to, you see, you'll have seen all this. I'm going to go through bit by bit and do each section of the video separately, and then stitch them all together. What I may do, actually no, I'm definitely not going to use the eGPU because I can't be bothered. But yeah, I'm just sort of showing you, like, this is the video editing process. This is running on my P51. This might as well be Shadow, but it's actually my P51. So I'm going to dive in some video editing, and then be back kind of with just the conclusion about like how viable this device is, and an outro, and I'll see you there. So day 7 video editing. You can see I've just done about 15 minutes, which is basically the introduction and everything up to day 1 via Parsec. Beautiful fluid experience. Wouldn't have known that I wasn't actually using the desktop really, except for the little Parsec symbol. It was fluid, but we're on Ethernet, so that's unsurprising. We've got 46 minutes, so we're rendering at 4K 30 frames per second. You've obviously seen all of this as happening prior to this bit of footage. Point being, this is nice and fluid, absolutely zero problem with it. Very akin to the performance I got with Shadow. Obviously a little bit better because it's over my local network, but flawless performance using the T430 via PopOS, connected to my P51, which is doing all the heavy lifting. So I'm going to do the rest of this, and I'll see you in the conclusion of the video. So, in conclusion to this video, which has been quite long, it's been quite intense to make actually. It's 7 days worth of experiments, but it's taken me a lot longer than 7 days to produce it. In a nutshell, my conclusion about at least my T430, it is theoretically possible to do everything you need to do, especially if you've got an eGPU. Theoretically possible. For my workload, like the things I like to do, I think I need something a bit more powerful than this, which may be ameliorated by if I could somehow safely get the wireless WAN, so the mini PCIe adapter, to work with the eGPU. But last time I did that, it destroyed an SSD, and I wasn't willing to risk my SSDs and things in this process to try and verify whether that would in fact make any improvement. So yes, with some caveats. I mean, like, if it was your only device and you have a heavy workload with video editing, I'd recommend Shadow. If you want anything beyond 1080p 30, maybe 1080p 60 in recent games, you need a GeForce Now subscription. If you want to use it for pretty much anything else, especially the Linux side of things, it's perfect. It does exactly what it needs to do. I'm very pleased with it. I shan't be getting rid of mine anytime soon, although I may be swapping the motherboard out for one with the NVIDIA graphics. So if you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments. But yeah, basically that's the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you. If you stay to the end, you're my hero, personally, my personal hero, and I'm very impressed.
Why not subscribe if you like the content that much that you bother to watch all the way through? Why not subscribe, like, share, introduce my channel to anyone that you might think might find it interesting. Yeah, I mean, the comments if you've got any questions or if you want any follow-up things doing, or I can make a short if there's any issue I missed. I could sort of present that information in the shorts. So just before I go, the next video I'll be doing, I believe I mentioned earlier in the video that I may have shown it as well, but the dock for the X200 arrived. So my next video will be seeing about how the X200 performs. It's a request from a subscriber. I'm going to butcher this, but Tanaka Chakafana, I believe, is at least a valid pronunciation of their username. And I needed the digital display out for it. So I needed the display port so that I could capture card it. So that's why I got the dock. The other additional benefit of that is that because the internal hard drive, why is that stuck down? This is an annoying time to find that out. The internal hard drive bay is damaged. Now I can take this down to the motherboard and fix that, but I needed a quicker solution. At the moment I'm running, until I got the dock, I was running on an SD card, which you can in fact boot this device and run an operating system pretty fluidly if it's Linux. So I was using PopOS and then I downloaded and installed i3 with it as well, and that it was perfectly viable. It was faster than the hard drive, I can assure you of that. But now instead we've got an SSD in the ultrabay. But yeah, that'll be my next video. I'm waffling on endlessly like I often do. So yeah, I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching so very sincerely. Find me on Twitter at TechDave YouTube, and then from there you'll see a list of all the other links. See you in the next video. Peace.